I'm going to show you the best email automation that I've ever used for scheduling sales appointments with my email list and how to create it in ActiveCampaign. Let's start off by talking about who this is specifically for. It's most specifically for and applicable to people or businesses that sell through consultations like coaches, agencies, or consultants. Products or services where you want to get your email list subscriber onto a sales call to sell them whatever you're selling them. That said, it could be applicable to and it could also be adapted for e-commerce style businesses. I think it would work well there too, but in my use case, I've been using it to sell services where we need to schedule that sales call for consultation, and it has worked incredibly well for me there. Now, that said, I'm not a big fan of email marketing. Of all the types of marketing that are out there and what I do, I really don't like email marketing. I often say that I cringe when I log into email marketing software, but this automation has worked very, very, very well for me over the last, I don't know, I've started using this maybe in like 2016, so at this point, about 7 years for various businesses and things that I've been selling. And yeah, I've had very, very, very good success with it. And that's why I'm sharing it with you guys here on YouTube. So on that note, if you find this video helpful and insightful at any point, be sure to do me a sweet one. You know the drill. Hit that like button and do yourself a sweet one so you get all of my insight into online business and digital marketing. Hit the subscribe button. Okay, let's keep moving with it here and talk about the problems with email marketing. These are problems that I typically see and what I try to overcome in this automation. First thing, constant pushiness in email is annoying. And I mean pushiness to sell or buy. Right? So when you subscribe to an email list, you often want the value. You want some type of insight. That's why you opt in. But real quickly, that gets overran with pushiness to buy. So you opt in for a lead magnet or something, and you know what I'm talking about. You get the lead magnet, you get maybe one little email of some kind of value, but real quickly, it doesn't turn to value. It just turns to stories about how they should buy and what the ultimate solution is. And that really turns users off, or turns off subscribers, I should say here. I'm used to using the term users because I'm talking about advertising platforms. In this case, it's still advertising, but really we're talking about email subscribers here. Email subscribers get turned off when the emails just become a bunch of snippets about major success and sales, sales copy after that. So here's a success, here's why you should buy now kind of thing. Or schedule that appointment. So when every email has that call to action in it, people really get turned off. And the call to action, I think, is the big thing. What I avoid here in this email automation is really the call to action until the user is engaged, as we're going to talk about. Now, users are not engaged with email, and I guess I kind of already alluded to this, and that is largely because of the call to action. When every email has a call to action, users just don't want to read it. They don't want to consume it, right? They want to consume the value. And then email offers feel generic and non-personal. So, the email sequences become a rhythm of here is value, which is usually just bullshit, a sales copy email with a call to action at the end. Users don't want to engage that. That's what a lot of people that are selling coaching, agency, and consulting services do. Hey, here's our client that 10x'd it with our service. Schedule your appointment now. Okay. And that routine gets old because we know that when you go to the email, there's just going to be a drive to the call to action. So what is the solution here and what do we do in this email automation? Number one, deliver helpful, insightful, and valuable content only by email. All right. So rather than having a call to action, we should elaborate this to say no calls to action. Just stick this into my little diagram here. No calls to action. All right, so no calls to action, and that is primarily in most of the emails, as we're going to see, instead focusing on delivering that helpful, insightful, and valuable content, right? So tell the stories, provide value, give them insight into how you do whatever you do or why you get that result. Maybe other industry relevant information. It doesn't necessarily have to always be about your service. So that way you're just kind of a broad expert in that industry or niche. And then ask only when the user is engaged. Okay, so we're focusing here on creating a mail list or creating emails, delivering emails that really build value and position you as an expert and authority with no calls to action, and then only when the user is engaged do you ask. So let's move over to the actual diagram here and show you what this looks like in practice. Okay, and you may have already kind of glanced at this, so you might have an idea what I'm going to say here, but the user subscribes and then you just send emails, okay? They could be a sequence. They could be just one-off emails, right? Like you feel like you have an idea for something and then you just type it up, or maybe there's news in your industry, right? Maybe you're selling services to the insurance agency and there was some new law that was just passed. You type up an email explaining what it is, right? So you're just sending out emails that are helpful, insightful, and valuable content. Things people want to get, right? Think about the newsletters you get where you really like them because they don't have a sales pitch behind them. That's what you want to do here. But now ultimately you have to sell something. So how do we do that? Here's where the ask comes in. When the user opens an email, you send them a short and sweet email with the ask. Okay, so here we send something like, this new regulation affects the industry. Here's 5 things you need to know to adapt your insurance agency to it. Okay, user opens the email. And then a few minutes later, we send them the email with the ask. We might say as a sample, hey, Jim, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I offer custom lead generation solutions. Would you like to hop on a call sometime? It's short and sweet and it's personal. So these emails here can be more doctored up, right? And I like doing this. I usually keep these looking different. They look more like marketing emails. Let me just add this in here. Maybe not marketing emails, but just look fancier, right? And that, I think, really helps differentiate from these emails over here. So I'm going to just kind of come in here and maybe do like a little star. I don't really like the star. Let me circle it. Let's just do like a circle around it. These look fancier. And these are going to be plain text, simple. Okay, so the user is used to getting your value emails, and these look like well put together emails. They look good, blah, 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 blah. Then the user opens the email, and then that's when you send them the ask, and you keep it simple and plain text so that the message looks personal. And what we're doing here is we're only asking when the user is clearly engaged. They're opening the email. Okay, and we're keeping it personal. It's going to be short and sweet. At this point, we'll often interject their name. And another thing I'll do is I'll keep these generic. I won't use their name in these sequences. So now they see an email with their name, and it's just a plain text email, and it comes right after they've opened this email. And maybe you could also kind of doctor this up and say only send this email if they click, right, to show more engagement. I typically only do it when they open. I typically do the open. I have done the click. I by and large go for the open. And here is why. We have this wait 3 days in here. So when it comes to your email automation program, typically if you set up an automation that opens, or that sends when an email is opened, you could get a lot of these emails sending, right? So you're going to overwhelm them. So let's just say you're sending the email 1 a day and they're opening 1 a day. Now you're asking, right? Or what if they go back to the email? This happens too, right? What if they open the email more than once? Well, if they do that, then they get this automation fired off unless you have something in here to prevent it sending within the wait 3 days. So this whole thing, this automation right here is really easy to do in concept, right? Send the email only when they open it. But the wait 3 days part is tricky. And I hope I'm making this clear why we're doing this. And that is so that they're not getting overran with this ask email. Otherwise, like I said, if the user opens this 2 or 3 times, they're going to get this email a few times, and then the user is going to be like, oh, hey, clearly this is some automated bullshit here. So we only want to ask periodically, and I typically do this every 3 days. So I think that explains the framework for this whole thing. We deliver valuable content here, and then we ask and send the ask email to schedule a call or present our offer only when the user opens one of our emails, and we'll limit it to a time frame to where they're only getting this email once every so often. I do once every 3 days. You might do once a week. Maybe you do shorter, right? You kind of have to play around. I think 3 days, once every 3 days is a kind of happy medium, satisfies most industries here. So yeah, let's just go over to ActiveCampaign at this point here and show you how this is set up. I'm going to pull over my ActiveCampaign window where I've got this set up here. The start of the automation is contact reads any email. And the first thing we want to do is, does the contact match the following condition? Tag exists, do not send. So let's kind of skip over this right here. We'll come back to this here because you have to understand the rest of this automation for this to make sense. But contact reads any email, wait 5 minutes, and then send the email outreach. This is our ask email. This is where we're going to be saying, hey, here's what I do, here's why, do you want to schedule a quick call? Like 3 sentences. Okay. And then once that's sent, we add the tag do not send to it. You name your tag whatever you want. I just, for the example purposes here, call it do not send. Then we wait 3 days, and then we remove the tag, and then we end the automation. Now, back at the beginning, we have the check, does this contact match the following conditions? Tag exists, do not send. So the user can join this automation multiple times, and if we go back to the beginning here, we have this set up to run multiple times. So basically, whenever the contact reads the email, they start this automation, and then it will check to see if this tag exists. If it does exist, we end the automation because that means that they've gotten this email within the last 3 days. If it does not exist and they go no, then they start it here and they get the email for the email outreach. And I've got Skype messages pinging. You guys might be able to hear that. I don't know what audio is recording. I don't know if it's recording my computer, but if it was, you're hearing my Skype. Anyways, just ended that. So yeah, if they don't have that tag, then it runs the sends the email and then adds the tag, and then they wait 3 days. So the tag is very, very important here. This tag and the check is very important so that the user does not get overran with these emails. Let's see, I think that's about all I really have to cover on it here. This is how you do it in ActiveCampaign. I really don't use any other email automation softwares, but I'm sure other email automation softwares could be used for it. I'll put a link to ActiveCampaign in the description below. To my knowledge, MailerLite cannot do this. I have not checked MailerLite in a couple of years, but it could not do it, and I do not believe that it can do this at the moment. So yeah, I hope you guys found this one helpful and insightful here. I hope you guys can see also how this works and really, the value in this of just sending value-based emails and insightful, helpful emails and only asking periodically and when the user is engaged. On that note, guys, hey, you know the drill out there. If you found this video helpful and insightful, be sure to do me a sweet one because it helps me out on the YouTube algorithms. Smash that like button, do yourself a sweet one. Hit the subscribe button so you get all of my insight into digital marketing and online business, 2 of my favorite things in the world out there. And on that note, I'm calling it a wrap and signing off on this video.